Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS, presented by Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor.
Cody Herman, he's the owner-operator of Day One Outdoors, guide service, television show, internet star, update info for Buoy 10 each year guy. I mean, just a wealth of knowledge, and we're going to try to tap into that this last segment with Cody. Okay, so you kind of gave us a quick breakdown of the zone you're in, why you're there, but let's talk about what it is that you're using and how you're actually presenting that to the fish that are there, right? Now, hopefully they're going to go. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but you got to put it in front of them one way or the other.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mentioned in the last segment there, it doesn't matter if you got the best gear in the world. If you're not in front of fish, you can't catch them. And trusting your electronics has got to be one of the most underutilized things that people neglect. You have to look at what part of the water column they're in and then figure out where in the water column you need to have your gear. And, you know, you get asked that all the time, like how far out on your line counter are you? Where do you need to be? You know, it's different because the tide changes, your speed of your boat changes. So I'm running 12 ounces of lead right now. And with the speed that I'm trolling to get a good thump on my gear, I usually do about a -10, -15. So what I mean by that is if I want to fish 35 feet down, then I need to be at 45 to 50 on the counter. And that's the way that I personally fish. Now, other people are going to have different speeds that they need to be out at different numbers on their line counters. And so what's tough is when guys say, hey, how deep on the counter are you? It can be different because, you know, even the length of your bumper can change that. Like my 18-inch bumpers will fish shallower than my 30-inch bumpers because you're creating more drag. So there's a lot that goes into it, and it just comes with time and just constantly checking your gears, see where it's at in the water column, if you can see it on your graph, touching bottom, see where bottom's at constantly, and just get an idea of where in the water column you are. So when you do find the fish, you know that you're in front of them. Like on my first pass through here, I set my numbers. We saw the fish on the graph, and I knew instantly that was underneath them. So on our next pass, we came up another 5 feet, and I knew my gear was right on top of them. Now they bailed, but I knew that they at least saw my gear. And I'm making the slide right now to come in here and see if they're still hanging out. So hopefully stick one right now.
Now, do you ever get bit a lot? Oh, I got my bite on the turn. Does that happen to you very often when you're running all those rods?
Oh, absolutely. And it doesn't matter inside or outside. I just know on the turn, most of the time you don't land them because it's just not a good hook set.
It's just an interesting process where you can just, one rod's just going to speed up, the other rod's going to slow down, depending on what side of the boat it's on, and that just turns a non-biter maybe into a biter for you because it can get obviously very frustrating. Okay, so I'm assuming that you're running spinners, stuffer baits, both. What are you actually putting down there as far as your baits go?
Yeah, I'm running all blades right now, and the reason why is because the water temp where it's at. You know, we had those rains a couple, I guess like last week and a half ago. And when the water temp dropped a few degrees, I was running some spin fish and stuffing it with bait. But since the water temp has come back up a little, I've gone back to just straight blades.
Any particular pattern that you're liking? Everybody gets into their different patterns that they really like. If it's, you know, the world famous Mexican hat to something different, you know, like copper and red, salmon or dead theory. Is there any particular combos that you like or have more confidence in than say something else?
You know, I'm running 3 Mexican hats, 3 Broncos. You just really can't go wrong with those color patterns. Earlier on in the season, there was a lot of variation the fish would key in on. I was running a lot of painted blades first thing in the morning, a lot of rainbows. And then as the sun came up, I'd switch up. A lot of times I will run copper when the sun gets high, especially when there's almost no wind. The copper seems to do really well because it's a little bit darker, duller, metallic color to it. But lately, for me, it's been almost all brass all the time. Whether it's high sun, first thing in the morning, it doesn't matter, just brass, not even gold. Just that straight up brass has been the move. So, you know, the fortunate thing about being a guide is that I get to fish 6 rods. Most of you guys out there only fish 1 or 2. And so it's very difficult to figure out exactly what the fish are wanting throughout the tide, throughout the day. And so if I were to just pick 1 or 2 things, I'd probably just run Bronco, Mexican hat, and have it in copper, brass, gold, and just keep switching it up until you figure out what the fish want.
How much of a difference do you feel that the leader length between the Flash or the 360, whatever numerous versions there are these days that's out there, But from the flasher to the spinner itself, do you like to keep that for that particular style of bait as opposed to a spin fish or a super bait? Do you like to keep that shorter, longer? What's your theory on that leader length?
Well, I'm going to show you something here real quick. So if I can get it here, there you go. So that right there is a group of salmon, and they're down about 30 feet. And my back rods are at 45 on the counter, so my back rods are right next to them. But if you see it, they started out high in the water column, then dropped down to the bottom. That's telling me that those fish are still not ready to go. They're still swimming away from my gear. So they're still a little bit sketched out. They're still a little bit finicky, and they're not quite ready to bite yet. So, man, I need something to change. I need them to wake up. But so the fish are here. They're just not willing to chew quite yet. But as far as my bumper length, spinner length, I'm learning that it's different every single day. As soon as I think I got it figured out, I'm wrong. You know, I have, again, I'm fortunate to run 6 rods. So I have a lot of different bumper lengths, spinner lengths, and I'm still learning this whole Pro Troll 360 flasher fishery. It's a very complex. Oh, there we go. Oh, good. Yep.
You got one?
I missed him. Back in. Just a little slap and tickle. That's all it was. A little slap and tickle.
Well, Cody, my last question for you, is there any more availability for you going through the remainder of the year? Or are you pretty booked up through the rest of 23?
I think I'm pretty booked up. I might have a weekend day like next weekend where I got a couple spots, but that's about it. It's been a pretty good season, so can't complain. But yeah, get out here. It's good fishing. Not today, but it is good fishing. Go fill your freezer. Yeah,
that's one of the things, right, Cody, is it's just day to day. Now, where Cody is down lower, what I would call lower from where I spend my time most of the time on the Columbia, maybe it's a good idea to be up there in between, like what he mentioned, around Chinook up in that middle section of the dead zone could be where those fish are hanging out, so hopefully that'll help you make a decision going forward. Cody, as always, man, thanks for spending some time while you're actively fishing with clients, and you got that close to getting that hookup right when we were wrapping it up, man. Just that close. But we really do appreciate your advice and your time, Cody. Thank you.
Always a pleasure, sir. Thank you so much for having me.
You betcha. Take care. Be safe and get your fish. All right, everyone. We're going to cut to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have your Chevy Silverado Tech Tip of the Week. We're going to talk about twitching and another technique or two for silvers in tributaries and some of the other locations that you can find them, and especially right now. It is really kind of starting out, well, I don't want to be too positive, but there's definitely been some really good opportunities for silvers around here the last week or so. So we'll have that when we come back from this break.
Outdoor GPS is brought to you by Terra Firma Foundation Systems. We keep homes safe, dry, and stable. By Yakima Bait, steeped in tradition, innovation, and fishing success. And by Procure Bait Sense, ruthlessly effective.